Hi friends, welcome to Eyes of My Heart with Vicki Jean. I want to share a beautiful little story today, true story. It's from this book called My Grandfather's Blessings, and it is by Naomi Remen. She's a medical doctor, and it's stories of strength, refuge, and belonging. And she herself has struggled with a serious health condition for many, many years. She did go in to become a doctor and to work with other people who are sick, but she shares from a place that she says has informed her medical practice in ways that really no other education could. And she gives stories of people's lives. And I want to read this one for a couple reasons. Number one, because this past year has been one of a lot of uncertainty for Mark and I. His cancer diagnosis, his cancer surgery, the great news that everything was clear, and then it comes back a year later. So about 6 months ago, we learned that it came back. He had to have radiation, and it was, it came back, but it was one tiny little small spot, 3 radiation treatments that should make the PSA go down and you'll be good. And we'll just continue to follow it. So he had it, and the PSA went up, and I've shared this before, which totally kind of freaked me out. I'm like, that's not a good sign. Fortunately, we had a wonderful urologist who said, don't panic at this point, because sometimes with radiation, you get what's called a bounce if you get tested too soon after the radiation has been completed. He said, wait another 6 weeks, have it tested again, come back, and if it's gone up, we'll look at that and determine the next course of action. And he says, but it could also go down because it could have been a false bounce. So for those next 6 weeks, my stomach was in knots. I mean, I was calm in the sense that I was able to function and I was able to be positive, but I hold things in my gut. I'll just share that. And that has been my entire life. And so I wasn't feeling well. And having what I would call IBS flare-ups. And if don't know what IBS is, it's irritable bowel syndrome. And some people get migraines, some people get backaches. Some people have other physical manifestations when they're under chronic stress. Mine is always in my gut. And sometimes it can get really painful and really debilitating. So it wasn't just Mark, it was other things in my life too that were not horrible, but they were uncertainties. And then of course Mark had his double knee surgery, and that was different and needed a lot of changes that we normally our daily routines and stuff. So I'm going along functioning, but all the time something's going on in my stomach because my emotions are taking a toll. So I know that there's more to health and well-being than simply having what's called a clean bill of health. Because Mark didn't have a clean bill of health. And he was, honestly, and I don't say this to make him sound like a saint, because it's just how he is, perfectly at peace, enjoying life, not thinking about the what ifs, very realistic. Not a moment was his head in the sand. But he was like, this is the information we got. There's nothing we can do for the next 6 weeks. We're not going to sit here and stop living our life and thinking every morning, what if, what if, what if. We are going to live our life, and when we get more information, we will make the next right considered decision and take the next right considered step. But we're not there yet. We're here. And I love that about him. So he did not have the clean bill of health, and yet there was such a peace about him and an acceptance. Where I was the one who thought, well, I need to fix this. And, I spent way too much time researching things and Googling things and letting stories develop in my head that I did myself harm physically. But I want to read this story simply because it talks about something similar to that. I mean, it's not at all the same situation, but it's a true life story that this doctor wrote from a patient with her that she had. And I'm just going to read it. It's called The Gray Zone. A woman with metastatic cancer once told me that through the experience of her illness, she had discovered a basic truth. There are only two kinds of people in this world: those who are alive and those who are afraid. She smiled at me and said that many of the people she had met who were afraid were doctors. Perhaps such fear is a natural outcome of the wish to be in control. A patient whose physician told him several years ago that he had 3 months to live told me in bewilderment that the doctor had seemed satisfied that he made this heart-stopping statement. He seemed sorry to be telling me this, but he seemed pleased that he had the information to give me, almost as pleased as if he had told me that he had the right drug to eradicate my cancer. He told me of my death with an air of authority, as if it were he who had decided when it would be, and in doing so had somehow gained mastery over it. As if when he could not control my cancer, he could at least control the time of my death. I was angry for a long time, but now I think he was as out of control and vulnerable as I was. Too bad we could not have talked man to man on that level instead of reaching for false certainty. Oh, how much anxiety do we create when we continually reach for false certainty rather than accepting the reality of what is. And doctors are humans too. They want to control things, and if they can't control a cure, there has to be something in them that creates a fear, a sense of vulnerability and uncertainty. So if all they can offer is a certainty that you're not going to be cured, you have maybe 3 months to live, rather than share their vulnerability and uncertainty and say, I don't know how long you have to live. Nobody knows that. So she goes on and she says, perhaps the most basic skill of the physician is the ability to have comfort with uncertainty, to recognize with humility the uncertainty inherent in all situations, to be open to the ever-present possibility of the surprising, mysterious, and even the holy, and to meet people there. Meet people in the surprising, in the mysterious, and even in the holy. Meet people there, rather than trying to meet them in your certainty. The need for certainty is not just a problem for medical professionals. We wish for certainty as ardently as our doctors do. We are seduced by it as profoundly and are as disappointed with the uncertain nature of the world. We all yearn for mastery, but mastery is always limited. Sooner or later, we will come to the edge of all that we can control and find life waiting for us there. Listen to that. We yearn for mastery, for certainty. Whether it's in our physical life, our financial life, our relational life, our spiritual life. But sooner or later, we will come to the edge of all that we can control and find a life waiting there for us. The wish to control floats like a buoy above the hidden reef of fear. The wish to control floats like a buoy, over or above the hidden reef of fear. So fear is always right beneath this need for control. More than any single thing, fear is the stumbling block to life's agenda. Perhaps it is Perhaps it is only the things we fear that we wish to control. No one can serve life if they are unconsciously afraid of life. for life is a process. When he was very old, Roberto Assagioli, the founder of psychosynthesis, reminded one of his young students of this. There is no certainty. There is only adventure, he told this young man. Even stars explode. There is no certainty. There is only adventure. Even stars explode. That spoke to me for a lot of reasons. One, just because of my own sense of uncertainty this past year and a half, and how I have tried to navigate through that and felt the buoy of fear. Like I'm up here trying to control things, and that there's this underlying fear just bouncing along, and I'm not in control because it's just moving me in ways I didn't really want to move. But also because starting in January, I'm going to be working voluntarily at a beautiful organization here in Alpena called Friends Together. And it is for people with cancer. It's for the patients themselves. It's for the caretakers, the family members, the friends. And I'm so looking forward to that. And working with them in perhaps doing workshops and support groups and perhaps even some one-on-one, spiritual direction or counseling with people. And journeying with people through the uncertainties that come into their life. So I just wanted to share these words with you today. I don't feel like I need to expound on them much. I thought they were beautifully written. I don't know what things you may be experiencing uncertainty with. I have to assume we all do from time to time. Opening to that uncertainty and realizing that nothing in life is certain. And when we can accept that, life becomes a different kind of adventure. And for me, it becomes even an awareness of more of the holiness, the holy ground that is found in the surprising, in the mystery, in the uncertainty, in being able to let go of trying to fight for a false sense of certainty. Whether that, again, is in our physical health, spiritual, relational, whatever part of life it might be. That helped me. It has helped me. And I believe it will continue to as I daily practice it. But I do need to be reminded of it. I love that last line about how life is this adventure, and that even stars explode. It made me think about stars, like the metaphor. We look up at the night sky and we see all these stars. And they're made of all different kinds of metals and rocks and dust. And we're seeing this beautiful reflection of these twinkling stars. But think if you're a star. It looks like so beautiful up there, just twinkling away. But it's constantly changing. And one of these days, that star is going to explode, as they continue to evolve. And I don't think that the stars in the sky, and again, I'm speaking as a metaphor, are sitting up there thinking, wow, I know I'm shining really brightly now, but is tomorrow the day I'm going to explode? What can I do to keep all these chemicals from alchemizing and changing and moving me more and more towards an explosion? How do I control and just stay right here as the star is exactly as it is? The star can't do that. We can't do that in our life. The star is held by the universe. And everything about it is changing on a continual basis. And as it just stays right there as it is, whatever transition it is in, it's still being the star it was meant to be. And it's still being held by this mystery that encases it all and is part of it all. The star doesn't sit there thinking, is tomorrow the day I explode? Oh, wow, that energy burst felt a little strange. Is that leading to the big one? You guys, we are all sparks of God in this world. And if we can rest in that and know that whatever is happening within us and around us, it's constantly changing and transforming, and resting in it without fear, without thinking, when is it all going to blow up or explode, or what if it does, and are just present to it, I think that's when we truly can live, as Jesus said, as the light of the world. I know what my fears are and the ones that have triggered me, and I have had to work and to be more conscious, I guess is the word, to wake up more, stay in the awareness of this abiding presence of the divine love, the divine intelligence, the God that holds it all together. And say, Lord, let me be present however it unfolds, whether I'm sitting in an ER waiting for a diagnosis, or whether something's happening in my family life or to my spouse or my children, whatever might be creating what feels very uncertain. Don't let me chase after a false certainty, which is getting the outcome that I think has to happen before I can know peace. Be the star, be the light, that spark of God that has no fear, that doesn't let the fear push them around like a buoy on the water, but that love that casts out the fear, that can no longer control you. I pray that for your life. Sometimes the things that push us around, we don't call them fear, but I think even some of the emotions like grief and anger and rejection, and a lot of those things are driven by fear. All of it is being held in a love, in a peace that is available every moment, that is only one breath away. I pray you know that today, wherever you might be. And I thank God for how He's reminded me of it and brought me back to it over and over and over again. God bless you guys. Take care.